So, interesting article here on the F1Chronicle.com, guys. Going over Franco Colapinto and his hopes for a race seat in Formula 1 in 2025. There's only one that's still available, the second RB seat, and that very much looks like it'll probably go to Liam Lawson. However, there are a few scenarios where Franco could actually make his way onto the grid in 2025, and I've covered these in a few different videos before, but let's have a look at this one because this situation is ever evolving, and if you believe Franco Colapinto's management, he has a 110% chance of getting on the grid next year. So they sound pretty confident, but let's have a look at this. Franco Colapinto is on the way to Red Bull according to former F1 driver and now pundit Ralf Schumacher. The impressive rookie needs to vacate his Williams seat at the end of the year, but there have been rumours the team might keep him on board in 2025 and allow Carlos Sainz to switch to Red Bull. Williams rejects that theory outright, confirming that Sainz will test the 2024 car in the post-season Abu Dhabi test before lining up on the grid next season. Carlos will drive the four Williams alongside Alex Albon in 2025, forming one of the most formidable driver lineups on the grid, the team have declared in a statement. Behind the scenes, fevered negotiations have been taking place between Williams' 21-year-old Colapinto's management and potential alternative teams for 2025, including Red Bull and Alpine. Schumacher, however, says it's clear to him where the Argentine driver will end up. There was a lot of interest in him, and not only from Helmut Marko, he told Formula 1. I think Colapinto is certainly at Red Bull. Williams boss James Vowles has apparently been demanding a $20 million release fee to get Colapinto out of his 2025 contract, but Red Bull could cover that with the youngster's immense new commercial appeal within Argentina. Colapinto can bring a whole package of sponsors, says Schumacher. He will have closed some big deals. Indeed, it's been around, $4.5 million they've ponied up for 9 races, $500,000 a race. That's a lot. I mean, you scale it up to the size of a season, you're talking, $12 million, which isn't too far off that 20. And if you get a guy confirmed for the whole year, maybe you could get some more sponsors through the door. Some think Colapinto could replace the struggling Sergio Perez, although Schumacher admits a spot at Red Bull's junior outfit RB is also possible. That's a good question, said Schumacher. I don't think Red Bull knows exactly either. Internally, the situation between Christian Horner and Helmut Marko is still not optimal. Then you have Max's father, who is not really happy with the whole situation either. It's exciting to see how it's all solved, but I'm pretty sure Colapinto will end up in one of those new cars. Schumacher does admit that a young driver like Colapinto is a risk for Red Bull Racing, even though he's impressed with how quickly the latest influx of rookies are adapting. But you can see that Formula 1 is no pony park, he said. You can see that with Oscar Piastri. It's not quite as smooth as it sometimes looks. Yeah, I mean, the new crop of drivers, the Lawsons, the Behrmans, have done very well. I mean, Behrman did do well in Brazil, but very challenging additions as well. You know, there's a real crop of exciting young talent coming into Formula 1 right now. We've got 4 rookies on the grid next year, what I consider rookies: Lawson, Behrman, Bortoletto, and Jack Doohan as well for Alpine. Now, again, it's really hard with this because there's so much going on. I've covered this a lot, guys. I really have covered these stories a lot for you guys, I'll be honest. There is a rumour going around as well that Jack Doohan, his contract with Alpine might only be for the first 4 or 5 races of the season where it's guaranteed. Not too dissimilar to what Liam Lawson's contract with RB for this year stated that he had to have 5 or 6 races or something like that in the year. That's why Ricciardo was got rid of when he was, because that was the latest they could possibly do it. Whereas Jack Doohan's contract apparently only has 4 or 5 races at the start of the season. So after that, Alpine could demote him back to the reserve driver, the third driver role if they wish to get Colapinto in. I think that scenario, even if that clause is true, is pretty unlikely, just because, I mean, there's the possibility that Colapinto might not want to drive for Alpine, although I think that's pretty unlikely. I don't think he'd do that. Then there's also the fact that, maybe Williams could loan him again rather than being that $20 million release fee, which Alpine apparently, even if that was the case, Alpine, according to Bernie Ecclestone, who is good friends with Flavio Briatore, who is on the board for Renault, who obviously own Alpine, there's a big chain of kind of information there. He says that he's really, willing to do it, willing to pay it. But this is Bernie we're talking about here. Bernie Ecclestone is not the most reputable source, the former Supremo of Formula 1, as we've covered quite a bit on this channel. So yeah, there's a lot going on with this. I personally think it's likely that Colapinto will not be on the grid next year, certainly at the start of the season. I don't see Red Bull getting rid of Sergio Perez straight away. I think there's too much commercial interest there. I think that's part of the reason why he's in the sport. I've done a video again going over that, how him and Lance Stroll are on the grid, mainly because of their financial backing and because, well, I guess it's just pure out-and-out nepotism in Lance Stroll's case, of course. But yeah, I think the only way for him to get back onto the grid is if we see a mid-season change, either at Alpine, which I think is unlikely because I do like Jack Doohan and I think he's a good driver, or more likely at Red Bull. And then either Colapinto goes into that seat alongside Max Verstappen, or Liam Lawson gets promoted to Red Bull and Colapinto goes to RB. But then again, that would only happen if if Williams release him, because Williams are not willing apparently to let Colapinto go to either Red Bull's team without their consent, without them releasing it effectively, because they don't want to loan him, presumably to a rival. That is the kind of thinking they're going with, allegedly. That's what is being reported. So there we go, guys. I'm sorry for the Argentinian fans that are listening to this and wanting Colapinto to be on the grid next year. I do not see any way that he'll be on the grid at the start of the season next year, although as the season goes on, it could change for sure. So yeah, guys, let us know what you think. Does Colapinto deserve to be on the Formula 1 grid next year? I think he does. Do you think he will be on the Formula 1 grid? I don't think he will at the start, but things can always change. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and of course keep it subscribed to the F1Chronicle.com. Like, share, comment, subscribe, ring the bell as well, and we'll see you very soon, guys. Have a good one.